Well, Dan Smith hasn't lost many of these confrontations, no matter what he's held. I don't know if he's lost any.
The case jack on the river, quads for Dan Smith.
Dan Smith about to be an absolute beast.
King queen offsuit for Dan Smith. And he's raising. 15,000 total. Daniel Negreanu's in the hijack with ace deuce suited.
Now, if Negreanu's looking to get involved here, I sure hope he's gonna 3-bet it.
He calls.
I'm gonna waste the chips. I can't even like keep my eyes open throughout a hand.
Now you know how I feel. You know how late the bars stay open in this town?
Is your headache feeling better?
No. I actually thought it would maybe. Like,
You're sick too?
Well, just a very bad migraine is the easiest way to describe it.
Yeah, because from this angle, there aren't words to describe it.
Going heads up to the flop. Ace 3-5. Top pair and a wheel draw for Negreanu.
I thought Daniel was too short to flat there, but nobody squeezed behind him, and he flopped pretty much gin for his hand.
Dan Smith continues with 26,000.
I'm not going to pretend to think today because it's just going to hurt my head really bad if I start doing the thinking. So just whatever the first thing that comes to mind, just do it. No thinking today, it hurts. Just play.
Ah, that explains it.
Without thinking, Negreanu calls.
Daniel's kicker now completely irrelevant. Dan Smith now drawing dead. I'm not sure a bet could get Daniel to full top pair here anyway. Maybe Daniel knows that too.
Smith checks.
Ow.
Negreanu
What am I doing?
injures himself.
Stupid. Who does that?
You do.
I check.
Check, check.
King high.
I can beat it.
Daniel very happy to take the free showdown.
No thinking. Play speed poker. Ow. This is like, what an idiot, right? Who does that?
Actions on Steven Silverman. Queens under the gun.
Silverman was on the American Poker reality show 2 months, 2 million. It was the highest rated poker reality show in its time slot starring Steve Silverman.
He's raised to 15,000. Dan Smith has queen jack suited.
Dan's in rough shape, but he's got the exact kind of hand you can sometimes crack bigger hands with.
He calls. Negreanu's out. As are Bakar and Siva. Ravensbeck will fold the big blind, so we're heads up to the flop. And that flop is Jack, Jack 5, trips for Smith.
Hi-ya! Steve's almost always gonna bet this because he's almost always gonna have the best hand.
He does continue for 27,000.
I don't think he's folding.
Nope. He calls.
Dan opts to just calls. There are plenty of hands he could peel a turn with that aren't nearly as strong.
6 of spades on the turn. Smith with a virtual lock on the hand, 98% equity.
None of these cards are really saving Silverman.
Bets again, 65,000.
Now, does Dan raise or just call and go for all his value on the river?
He calls.
River it is.
230,000 in the middle, Silverman with not much more than that behind. The case jack on the river, quads for Dan Smith.
This is just a horrific card for Silverman. He's now got a full house, and in his mind, he's only losing the aces or kings, which probably would have gotten him 3-bet pre-flop.
Mullen.
Silverman shoves.
Oy.
Call.
Dan Smith calls.
Quick check of the quads.
Get in.
No kidding.
That is just brutal.
Steven Silverman eliminated.
Good luck, guys. Appreciate that.
He would need a luck recharge after a hand like that. See this right here? This is a great exit. Just fly down that ramp. Don't make a big production out of it.
Dan Smith now sitting on 958,000. He is second in chips. Back to the feature table. Action has been folded around to Dan Smith on the button. He looks down at Queen 10 offsuit.
He's going to be raising most hands here.
He does raise 15,000. 9-10 off for Negreanu in the small blind. He folds. Ziv Bakar has ace-deuce in the big.
Now you can certainly defend this against a button raise, especially against someone as active as Danny Smith.
Bakar does call with the best hand, but not anymore. He pairs his deuce, Smith pairs his queen.
One's got top pair, the other's got bottom pair. Should be an easy check to the razor type situation.
The card does check.
Should be an easy continuation bet type situation.
Sure enough, Smith continues for 22,000.
Now, if you're Bakar, sure, you don't love this, but you don't call a raise before the flop and then fold when you hit a pair.
He calls.
Both hands sort of playing themselves right now.
5 of hearts on the turn.
Pretty good card for Bakar. Good spot for another check call. He's picked up a gut shot. But instead, he leads.
Yeah, he bets 38,000.
Not a great spot for bet, IMO. Anything you're trying to protect against is probably going to call you anyway, and most made hands probably won't fold because it's such a weird line.
Smith calls. King of diamonds on the river.
Sure, that's an overcard to Dan's pair, but for him to think it undid him would mean that Bakar was randomly firing with some king.
Bakar fires a second time. 62,000, a quick call by Dan Smith. And Bakar's like, yeah, no, I don't really have anything.
Pretty trivial call for Dan. Bakar's line was weirder than I am the walrus, cuckoo, kachoo. I am the Eggman, I am the walrus, I am the short stack.
Meanwhile, at the opposite end of the spectrum, Dan Smith, the new tournament chip leader. He's only 23 years old, but he's already amassed live earnings of more than 2.8 million. And he won a super high roller title in Melbourne earlier this year, so he's no stranger to this format.
50,000 euro is just an absurd amount of money to spend on anything, much less a tournament where you're a big underdog to get any money back. I know a lot of people struggle keeping their cool. I never really had an issue with that, and I don't know why that is. Guess I'm a weirdo.
Dan calls himself a weirdo. I just call him a millionaire.
Eric Seidel opens from under the gun +1 with ace-queen to 16,000. Dan Smith has kings.
Almost always going to see a 3-bet with kings.
Not this time, he just calls.
Interesting. Dan's not wanting to look too strong, so he just calls. Calling reps a much wider range, and there's always a chance someone gets cute behind you.
Heads up to the flop. Quack, quack, quack.
Eric will probably continue with what he presumes will be the best hand a big percentage of the time. Dan, of course, flops a full house.
Seidel does continue for 18,000.
Let's see if Dan continues to play this deceptively by just calling. I think raising here would be a real mistake.
He does call.
Don't want to chase away that action.
The turn is a queen. Seidel now has a full house.
Really terrible card for Eric. He's now going to have the best hand almost all of the time.
Fires again. 25,000.
We know Eric is more likely to call a raise here than I am to call an ex-girlfriend after 2 a.m., but does Dan know that?
Dan does raise, makes it 75,000 total.
Dan claims to keep his cool in these spots. What do you people think? Is he giving anything away? Now, don't get me wrong, this raise looks extremely strong, but A, Dan's had quads once already. What are the odds, am I right, people? B, B, and C closing. Always be closing.
A?
I remember now. Even though that raise looks super strong, there are, in Eric's mind, only 2 hands that are beating him, kings and aces. And what are the odds Dan flatted with those pre-flop?
On this occasion, he did. Seidel now checks the river, having called Smith's raise on the turn.
Would have been really sick if a deuce had hit. Dan obviously has to bet again, but he can't be like me when a girl lets me buy her a drink in a bar, all eager. That's how you scare him off.
234,000 in the pot. He bets 200,000.
This is just a gross spot for Eric, you can tell, because all the liquid just drained from his body. You can't fault him for thinking about this, and you can't fault him if he eventually calls either. You can, however, throw him a parade if he somehow manages to lay this down. This is your run-of-the-mill / incredibly rare cooler crying call.
He can't get away from it. He calls, and Smith gets maximum value.
Eric Seidel's been getting brutalized by Dan Smith today.
Seidel loses 310,000 there.
Dan, don't say anything. Don't look at him. He is a legend.
I like the way he played that. In all things considered, I think it was Really, really good way to play it.
Quiet, Daniel. He's right there.
So Dan Smith extends his chip lead. He's now playing a stack of 1.4 million. The action's been folded to King Dan. He's in the cutoff. And he has pocket aces.
Well, if you're looking to be the chip leader, I always recommend picking up aces. I don't know why more players don't do it. It's a no-brainer.
He raises to 14,000. Negreanu has jacks.
Daniel's been pretty miserable so far today, and it looks like he might get his wish for it all to be coming to an end.
I'm gonna make it 38,000. And when I screw it up and end up
That'll be a 3-bet.
in potpourri of the mess.
Math is hard. Dr. Scalp is out of there.
Back on Smith.
I'm thinking re-raise.
Which will probably induce a shove, which will be called.
Okay, good luck. I call.
Sure enough.
That's good. I was like, whatever, let's just do it. I told you no thinking today, no matter what, I promised.
Story checks out.
I was happy he raised me. I really was. I wanted to get it in, but not against that. To prepay.
I don't think you're allowed to get cute when you have aces. None of that.
No jack.
Not even close.
Negreanu is going to need to see a jack on the turn or river to survive.
Aces, huh?
Yep.
Just the river to come. 2 outs for Daniel Negreanu.
Good luck, man. I don't think it's coming anymore. I changed my mind.
Insurance?
He's in this tournament for 100,000. He's got an amazing record in the super high roller format. He's 3 for 3 so far.
Dan Smith. He can do it.
Make that 3 for 4.
Good luck, man. All right, bud. Good luck, y'all. All right. Back to bed. Get me some cough medicine.
Don't forget to ice those knuckles from when you punched the table before.
It's the first time Daniel Negreanu has failed to cash in a super high roller tournament.
To quote one of Daniel's horrifically bad favorite shows, the Jersey Shore, cabs are here.
King's making a full house. Quads against big boat. Yes, I'm doing all right.
Tournament chip leader Dan Smith looks down at pocket 8s.
You think he's going to make the straight flush with the diamond or the heart?
Probably quads again. He raises. This is Chris Moorman, the last player to register for this tournament. He bought in at the start of day 2. Action folded around to JC Alvarado, who's also joined the feature table. As is Mike Watson, who folds the King 7. Eric Seidel will call out of the big blind with 9s.
Wow, the last player for Dan to get through, and somehow he gets pipped. Under the gun, now somehow in position, though, so that's something.
Jack 6-3. Seidel's 9, still good.
Both players with similar hands are going to feel similarly about this flop, and they don't hate it.
Seidel checks, and Smith continues for 27,000.
Smith makes an easy c-bet. This should be an easy call for Eric.
He calls.
Smith with almost no equity in this hand.
Queen of spades on the turn.
Board gets a little worse for both players.
Seidel checks again. And Smith checks behind. Deuce of hearts on the river.
If Seidel has a good read on this hand, he'll go for thin value here on the river.
The pot is 102,000. And Seidel will bet 31,000.
It's about a third pot bet, trying to get calls out of a weaker hand. I think if Seidel had any worse than 9s, he'd probably not have bet. Dan probably knows he can't rep anything by raising, so it's just a matter of whether or not he pays off.
Dan Smith lays it down.
Good read, good fold. Dan Smith is making all the right decisions today, and he's gotten lucky the few times he's needed to.
Didn't give up too much to Seidel there. Michael Watson, 6-5 suited. Raises, makes it 22K. Eric Seidel has pocket 6s.
Likely to see a call.
Sure enough, Eric does call. Dan Smith on the button has ace-king.
Dan's almost certainly going to 3-bet here, in position with all that action behind him. And don't forget those massive chips.
He re-raises to 63,000. Sam Chartier's just joined the feature table. He folds. Simon Ravensbeck also has ace-king.
Another ace-king out there. This is going to make things pretty crazy.
Ravensbeck 4 bets to 134,000. Watson and Seidel both fold.
Now this is a little less exciting now since these two are destined to chop.
Smith 5 bets.
I'm all in.
Ravensbeck moves all in, and Smith calls.
This guy Ravensbeck must have some rep considering none of these guys ever appear to be afraid to get it in with him. 96% chance of a chop. No reason to hide that gorge face now.
The flop has 2 spades on it, and Smith holds the ace of spades.
Backdoor sweat.
And there's a spade on the turn. Oh, come on. That would be too gross, right?
Did anyone else holding spades? I don't want to know.
Trust me, neither does Ravensbeck.
And the river brings another spade.
Oof. That was less cool than talking about a guy's bachelor party in front of his wife.
That was grotesque.
Dan, it's okay if you want to laugh.
Ravensbeck gets 4 flush, and a big stack is taken out by the chip leader, who now has close to 2.8 million, a phenomenal number of chips. Action is on Jim McCrank, who has Jack 10 suited.
This hand is just adorable.
Late position, expect to see a raise. McCrank makes it 37,000. Ace 9 for Dan Smith. And from the button, he will call.
I don't think Dan just calls there unless he thinks there's a pretty good chance he can outplay McCrank after the flop.
Kurzovic and Alvarado fold from the blinds. We go heads up to the flop. McCrank out of position, but with the betting lead. And he spikes second pair on that flop.
This is pretty much one of the best flops you can be looking for with this hand. Should be pretty easy to continue.
35.
35,000 is the bet. Dan Smith.
He's coming in for a raise. Hardigan, is there anyone on the EPT who's going to do anything about this blatant ageism?
88,000.
Not sure Dan Smith would ever try this move on anyone under the age of 35.
McCrank can't fold here, surely.
By the way, McCrank should definitely not fold.
He does fold.
Dan Smith often looks like the cat who ate the canary, but this time I can see the yellow feather hanging out of his mouth.
Dan Smith, Jack 9 offsuit. Smith, the overwhelming tournament chip leader.
It's been folded to him. He's in relatively late position.
Yeah, he's in the cutoff. He raises to 36,000. Gets rid of Kurzovic on the button.
Kurzovic folds a dominating hand.
JC Alvarado folds the small blind. Mike McDonald has Jack 10 in the big blind.
Also has Smith dominated, but he is out of position.
Looks like Mike will defend, and we will see a flop. That flop, 7 Jack 9, 2 pair for Smith, the straight draw and top pair for McDonald.
This flop is the worst thing that happened to a McDonald since trans fats got banned.
McDonald checks to the razor. Smith continues for 52,000.
Even though Mike's way behind, top pair and a good gut shot is almost just as good. Just not quite.
McDonald calls.
Looks like he might even think his hand is too strong to raise there.
The turn is another jack, another full house for Dan Smith. McDonald improves to trips.
This is just getting insanely bad. This is the worst thing that happened to a McDonald's since New York City banned large sodas.
McDonald checks a second time. Smith will bet a second time by the looks of things. Sure enough, 133,000.
There's a good shot. Mike just calls again, wanting Dan to keep repping that jack, which he is doing because he has it.
How much is Mike McDonald going to lose in this hand?
At least another 133,000.
Yeah, he calls, taking us to the river. 462,000 in the pot. No 10 on the river. Smith still good.
Let's see how Mike plays this. Does he lead the river and hope for a call? No, he checks the river and hopes for a bet.
He's going to get it.
He is gonna get it.
371,000.
That is a huge bet. Now Mike might be worried Dan's actually got a better jack. This is one of those polarizing bet sizes. Dan's not doing this with most of his non-nut value hands.
I call.
Mike calls.
Whoops.
1.2 million chip pot will slide across to Dan Smith.
There's really not much you can do there. You gonna fold 3 jacks? No. Hand was just a cold deck. The worst thing to happen to a McDonald since heart disease.
Action has been folded around to Iñat Liviu. The Romanian pro has pocket tens. And he is raising, makes it 32,000. Ryan Kamaya folds. Steve O'Dwyer will pass the jack 8.
Woof.
8-7 suited for JC Alvarado.
On the button, yum, yum. If this hand looks delicious, then being in position is like looking at its picture on the menu.
Alvarado will call. Litvinov gives up the small blind. Dan Smith in the big blind as Queen 6 suited.
Dan's getting good pot odds. A call here would be borderline if he didn't have all the chips in the universe, but he does, so it's totes fine.
So Smith calls as well. We are going 3-way to the flop. That flop, 6-9 deuce. Second pair for Smith, an up and down draw for Alvarado. Liviu still leads with tens.
Liviu was the original raiser.
55.
And he's got the most to protect against.
Dan Smith checks to him. Liviu bets 55,000.
I don't know that this bet will get either of these players to fold, however.
Alvarado calls.
Liviu's actually got 2 blockers to his hand.
Smith calls as well. It's a 3-way to the turn.
Calls a little questionable, but Dan's getting stupid pot odds again.
And he hits another 6 on the turn. Trips for the chip leader.
This is a grosser turn than the twist in the crying game. JC is now dead to 4 outs. Dan all but locks his hand up, and no one's really likely to think this card changed anything.
Dan checks a second time. Liviu bets a second time, 125,000. Action on Alvarado.
He's getting a decent price to chase his straight. Meanwhile, Dan's got a super disguised monster.
Alvarado calls.
JC was getting an even better price, assuming Dan comes along for the ride. And spoiler alert, he's not folding.
But is he raising? No, he's calling.
Dan overcalls on 3 streets. Gotta wonder if anyone's spidey sense is tingling yet.
3-way to the river, which is another 6. This is the second time in the tournament that Dan Smith has had quads.
The second time today. All pairs now have full houses, just like Liviu over there has got.
Smith checks a third time. Liviu now checks as well.
Wow, either a very astute player or a guy who's gonna lose value a lot of the time. I'm willing to chalk it up to some kind of insane physical read.
Alvarado with the misdraw.
Yeah, but it's a straight flush draw now.
He waves the white flag.
Because Liviu somehow has the clairvoyance to check the 6 nuts, Dan Smith gets locked out of the First National Bank of Value, 5th Street branch. Just quads, guys, just quads. These any good? Quads any good?
Now up to nearly 4 million in chips.
Well, JC's on a bit of a heater.
He raises, makes it 45,000.
Speaking of heaters, this is the one guy at the table running hotter than JC. This kid makes more hands than a mannequin factory.
Dan Smith has King Jack off. Calls from the cutoff.
Speaking of, have you ever seen Mannequin 2 on the move? It's really underrated.
You may be the only person on the planet who's seen that movie. Tobias Reinkemeyer has Jack 9 suited in the big blind.
It's a decent hand, and he's getting ridiculous pot odds.
He calls as well.
Even though we know he's dominated by Dan.
3-way to the flop. And Tobias Reinkemeyer flops a full house. Dan Smith flops trips. Nothing for Alvarado, the original raiser. Action's been checked to Smith. He bets 85K.
Dan Smith has made another huge hand. This time it's not the biggest, though.
Reinkemeyer calls.
After betting a call, not much shot JC sticks around here.
He folds. Heads up to the turn. Which is a 6. JC's so lucky he folded on the flop. Reinkemeyer checks again. Smith bets again. 181,000.
Sick cooler developing here.
Reinkemeyer calls.
Both players are playing this like they absolutely know they have the best hand, and most of the time they'd both be right. As for right now, Dan is in deep doo-doo.
The river's a king. Smith now has a better full house.
OMG, this kid spikes more than a lie detector on Capitol Hill.
Reinkemeyer checks, hoping to induce some kind of bluff from Smith. This is not a bluff. This is a value bet. 384,000, and it's bound to get paid off. It may even get raised.
This is a slam dunk value raise situation. There are only two hands on the planet that are beating you, kings and king jack. King jack is the more believable of the two if it weren't for the fact that it would have to be the case jack.
Hold on.
Reinkemeyer shoves.
The double check,
Call.
Dan Smith calls, and we lose the German from the tournament.
like the refrigerators at the Center for Disease Control, this is just a sick cooler.
Good hand.
No kidding.
Tobias, it's okay if you want to scream.
All right, good luck. Yeah.
Somebody go ask Dan Smith if it's uncomfortable having that horseshoe up there. Looks uncomfortable. What? I mean under his hat.
14 players remain, and Dan Smith now has close to 5.3 million.
JC's wasted no time picking up another hand.
Ace queen in the cutoff, he raises to 50,000. Pocket eight for Dan Smith in the small blind.
JC with overcards. This time it's Dan with the pair.
Smith re-raises to 155,000. JC calls, he'll play the flop in position.
With a great hand to do it with. Right in the door.
An ace-6 deuce flop. Smith bets. Alvarado now with the best hand.
Typically the play here would be to just flat call.
Looks like we're going to get an atypical move. It's a raise from Alvarado to 360,000.
But I like it. He's doing this against an aggro player, trying to make it look bluffy so he could snap call a shove.
Call.
Smith calls. $1 million in the middle as we go to the turn, which is the jack of diamonds. Alvarado now with a flush draw to go with his pair of aces. Smith also has a diamond draw, pretty worthless one at that.
By raising the flop, JC's made a shove here fairly reasonable, barely less than a pot-sized bet, which he can do with confidence now that he's picked up that diamond draw and more equity.
Smith check to him.
Mullen.
And he does shove.
Dan probably knows that he's almost never good here unless JC's lost his mind a little bit. And when you've been running as hot as Dan, some players are going to be tempted to stack off here, thinking that flashing star never goes away and Mario's going to stay invincible forever.
He thinks better of it. Smith lays it down.
Well played by JC, who's quietly adding to that stack.
So when we lose a player, we will crack open that €3 million prize pool. 8th place pays 123 grand. The winner gets more than $1 million.
Kind of a big bubble here. 9th place gets 0.
Eric Seidel has folded. Mike Watson has 10-6. He also passes. Ace-king for Dan Smith.
He has all the chips and all the good cards.
Raising with a legitimate hand this time, 65,000. The short-stacked Artem Litvinov with ace-10 suited.
He's got to push here. He's just unlucky to run into ace-king, or maybe even worse.
He moves all in for 159,000. We know he's going to get called in at least one spot. JC Alvarado in the small blind. Folds an ace. Mike McDonald, queen 9, gives up the big blind. Dan Smith calls. Litvinov's at risk.
I wish he could have at least got one last coin flip in. I'm going to be so bummed if he doesn't make the final table. Maybe Shakurchi will do something funny and entertaining, like sit on an ab ball. What do you think, Talal, huh?
Litvinov looking for a 10 or hearts. Only one heart on the flop. There is a 20% chance of a split pot. A 13% chance that Litvinov wins outright and doubles up.
I never thought I'd say this before, but come on, Russia!
The turn card is a diamond. Litvinov needs a 10 for the win.
Only 2 left in the deck.
The river is an 8. Dan Smith's ace-king holds. Artem Litvinov is the bubble boy. So Dan Smith with the chip lead in the small blind.
Pass your chips, please.
Dan should be raising him here 100% of the time, and then just calling the shove. Or...
Yep, he bets enough to put McCrink all in.
snap call. Snap call. Snap call. Snap call.
Good luck.
McCrink eventually makes the call.
Nice call.
Jim won't need luck. He'll just need some non-unluck.
Hearts are my favorite too, just so you're warned. And I'm a flush specialist.
And he's been running super hot in this tournament so far.
And he's dressed like a plumber, one of the Mario brothers.
That's the wrong color. That's the proper color.
Oh yeah.
Specialist, more like a shaman.
9 of hearts would be pretty great.
Well, that's sporting. There's Jim's wife on the rail. She doesn't want to see a heart.
There it is. That'll do it for McCrink.
Nice playing with you.
You are a flush specialist, aren't you?
You should see him work the urinal.
Ace 10 suited for JC Alvarado.
Probably just trying to conjure up a raise amount.
He limps.
Well, that is just bizarre.
Mike McDonald, 7-5 of clubs.
2 more clubs out.
Folds. Eric Seidel has only looked at one of his cards, and he calls.
Lots of hands Seidel could be just calling with on the button. 8, 9, 9, 9, 10, 9, Jack 9, 7, 9, Queen 9.
Well, Queen 9 is what Mike Watson has, and he calls as well out of the small blind.
Look what this limping has started.
It's going to stop right here because Dan Smith has kings in the big blind.
Now Dan gets to squeeze a monster in a spot with a stack where everyone's expecting him to squeeze just because he can. What an absolute dream.
He raises to 200,000.
Not sure I feel about JC's limp, but I know it's definitely a call after the raise.
He does call. Eric Seidel will fold.
Now we'll never know what that other card was.
Mike Watson folds as well. We're going heads up to the flop.
Danny Smith likes to recheck his monsters.
It's an ace-high flop. Alvarado now in front.
Dan could get in trouble here. He's been the one doing the sucking out in this tournament, not the one getting sucked out on.
He bets 175,000. Standard continuation bet.
And you're certainly not folding top pair.
Alvarado calls.
Are the alarm bells going off inside Dan Smith's little hairy body?
Let's see what the turn brings. The 7 of spades. Dan slows down. He checks.
Dan's not often going to be checking a bigger ace once the board gets wetter, so I think JC will think it's safe to bet this himself.
He does bet 260,000.
This leaves JC with only a 3/4 pot-sized bet on the river. Dan probably still has to call here because JC doesn't necessarily need to have an ace to call the flop and bet the turn. So many draws just developed.
Smith calls. We go to the river, which is the 4 of clubs.
Well, that's a total brick for both players. Doesn't change much about the board.
Dan Smith checks again. JC Alvarado checks behind.
Dan's not going to like the look of that. I'm actually surprised JC didn't bet the river there. He must think there's no way Dan ever calls with anything worse.
Action has been folded to Mike Watson in the cutoff. He's been the beneficiary of another double up, so he starts the hand with 1.9 million. He's got ace-4 suited, and he is raising to 110,000.
Now, while Mike was short, he's been playing super tight.
Ace-queen for Dan Smith.
You had 935 with that hand?
No, 890 I had. I have a 1.9 now.
Dan might be realizing that Mike could be opening things up a bit now that he's not super short anymore.
There's the 3-bet from Smith to 255,000. Jacks for Ilari Sahamias.
I think with a relative short stack raising and the biggest stack re-raising in position, you're usually pretty happy to go crazy here.
He 4-bets to 575,000.
Or in Ziegman's case, passionately emotionless.
Alvarado with 5s in the big blind.
5s. Come on with your 5s. Come on.
Yeah, he folds. Watson will give up the ace-4.
I'm assuming Dan will want to take a flop in position.
I'm all in.
Instead, he shoves.
What? I guess that's the power of the big stack. He's got to have something pretty good to call you.
And Hillary folds. Wow.
Whoa. I am all for not wanting to take a race or even flipping for your tournament life. However, if you're going to fold to the 5-bet, save yourself the 4-bet.
Action has been folded to Mike McDonald, who has ace-10 under the gun +1. And he's raising, makes it 120,000.
Mike McDonald, you are my little gentleman.
Mike Watson on the button. 6 deuce. He'll muck that. Dan Smith in the small blind has ace-jack of clubs.
This is 1,000% a 3-bet. There's a good shot these two get it in here, provided Hillary doesn't wake up with a monster.
Smith will re-raise. Makes it 295,000. Hillary does not have a hand. It's back on Mike McDonald.
Well, Mike McDonald, win in Rome. Everyone, shh, it's girlfriend Cam. This is Dan's girlfriend, Monica. Hi, Monica.
He shoves.
I call.
And Dan Smith calls.
Sweet Lincoln's mullet. It's Domination Nation for Mike McDonald and his Ron Burgundy shirt. Mike McDonald's kind of a big deal, but unfortunately Dan Smith has many leather-bound books.
That is a horrible flop for McDonald.
Mike, only 7% to survive this hand now. It's science.
Looking for a 10. Now looking for a jack.
Well, he didn't lose any equity there. It's so damn hot. Milk was a bad choice.
3 outs for Timex. No jack on the river. He's eliminated in 5th place.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, it really got out of hand fast. Brick killed a guy.
Nice playing with you.
And Dan Smith's chip lead is now just ridiculous. 7.4 million? Come on.
My name is Dan Smith. I am 23 years old. I'm a professional poker player. 2 years ago, me and Mike Watson, we were very drunk in Australia, and as a way of celebrating, we invented the nub, which is elbow to elbow, and it caught on amongst our group of friends, and it became a bit more than that, and now I wear a Dan Smith nub shirt. And the first tournament I ever wore it for was the Super High Roller tournament in Australia, which I won. So I'm not superstitious in the slightest, but just in case there's something going on, I can't afford not to wear it. It would be very cool to win this. I've never actually gotten a trophy or anything for winning a tournament, and it's a lot of money.
I heard Dan Smith is going to change his name to Stacks McNasty. Either that or Rakes McChip Uppington.
So we're now four-handed. All the remaining players guaranteed at least 300,000 euros. Action's on Mike Watson. He has Queen-Jack offsuit under the gun, and he raises to 130,000. Dan Smith still stacking Mike McDonald's chips.
Well, it takes a while when you have 7.5 million of them.
Lines are still 30-60, Dan. Ace-10 of clubs.
Well, he's certainly not folding.
Question is, will he call, play a flop in position, or re-raise? He calls.
He calls not wanting to let Mike get away, but now it's him. He's going to have to get away.
Ilari Samias with ace-queen suited in the small blind. 3 bets to 400,000. JC Alvarado has king-queen in the big blind.
What in the heck is going on here? Are we playing with a pinochle deck?
JC folds, as does Mike Watson. Action's back on Dan Smith.
Ilari had every single hand dominated somehow. Smith probably can't fold this in position, and if he calls, he's got to pretty much call any bet on the flop as well.
I'm all in.
He shoves.
I call.
And Ilari calls.
And despite the fact that he's behind, this was a great pressure shove from the big stack. He knows Ilari is going to be 3-betting a pretty wide range, some of which he could fold, and now that he's gotten in bad, he can still lose without it hurting much.
Ilari is ahead, but he is the player at risk.
Kymppi tulee aina. Mulla on fiilis, mä tiedän. Siikattaa kymppi tulee aina.
Ilari says he always gets stung by a 10 and he can feel it's coming.
Well, Dan Smith hasn't lost many of these confrontations, no matter what he's held. I don't know if he's lost any.
Here comes the flop, which has a 10 on it. Ilari's feeling was correct.
Dan sucked out more often than the world's worst rattlesnake handler.
Ilari Samias has 1 out because JC Alvarado and Mike Watson both folded queens.
Peter Jetton on the right. He busted out just before the final table.
Ilari with just 11% equity. Make that 3%.
One last card in the deck that can save him. One chance to hit it. Dan Smith about to be an absolute beast.
The river is not the case, Queen. We lose Ilari Sahamias in 4th place. Alvarado shoves on Watson. And he calls. Watson needs an ace on the river. Mike Watson out in 3rd place.
Okay, so yeah, that's fine. And then let's just figure out the number so we don't make any mistakes. The number that he would get.
Okay, sure.
Good luck, bud.
Good luck.
A deal has been reached, but they're still playing for 100,000 euros and the Super High Roller title. King 6 on the button for JC Alvarado. It's a raise to 160. Dan Smith has Queen Jack in the big blind.
Usually just a call out of position. You generally want to see a flop with this.
Dan does call.
Yeah, you guys got some nice nubs on you, don't you? Like them nubs.
Please stop, you're creeping me out. An ace 7-3 flop. Both players miss.
King high still good.
Dan Smith checks to the razor. JC Alvarado checks behind. 8 of diamonds on the turn.
JC's king high still good. No real reason for anyone to bet this.
Dan Smith checks a second time. JC checks a second time. The river is a 9.
Both players have missed on every street. Looks like Dan's gonna bet because he can't beat hardly anything.
280,000 into a pot of 340,000.
This would be a really sick call by JC.
He does call.
Wow, that is an excellent call. Dan could have easily been value betting an 8 or a 9 in that spot, so that is a very tough call to make.
JC Alvarado wins the pot and takes the chip lead. 9-10 for Dan Smith on the button in the small blind. Raises to 225,000. Pocket queens for JC Alvarado.
Not only does JC have the chip lead, but now he's getting hands. Typically the ladies come after you in the super high roller, but I'm sure he's happy to see them now.
He 3-bets to 700,000. Things turning around here for Dan Smith. Is his golden run over?
Possibly. That hand's a teensy bit weak to be calling 3-bets with.
Smith flops bottom pair and a straight draw.
JC's holding 2 outs to his gut shot though, and his implied odds aren't great if he hits it.
He goes check, check on the flop, and it's a 9 on the turn. I spoke too soon. Dan Smith's run is by no means over.
And unfortunately for JC, that's gonna look like a very safe card for him.
JC now bets 750K.
JC looks a little agitated. You know Dan's not reaching for chips with total air here. Best case scenario, he's got a jack or a super strong draw. Worst case, the hand he's got.
Smith calls. We go to the river, which is the inconsequential 2 of clubs.
That is such a brick. JC might think he can bet for value. Poor guy.
He is betting 1.4 million.
Dan most likely should be raising this river. It's really easy for JC to be value betting worse, which he is, and he's just not going to be beat very often. Also, it's such a polarizing spot that he's going to get paid off a fair amount of the time.
That is a big raise. 4.8 million total.
And we had to cut away because JC just threw up in his mouth a little. Shoots him a look. It's a very polarizing bet. Dan's either got a 9 or he doesn't. JC's put so many chips in this pot and was probably so sure he had the best hand. This spot is grosser than the piece of carpet the dog sleeps on.
Alvarado makes a great laydown.
Another really well played hand by JC. It's a shame he had to lose it.
Nice hand there. Thanks.
And Dan Smith is back on top as the blinds go up to 50 and 100,000. Dan Smith has more than a 2-to-1 chip lead over JC Alvarado. 10-7 suited on the button. He raises to 225.
The old suited 2-gapper.
Alvarado with a suited queen 6 will call.
Pretty standard defend heads up.
The flop 7-5-9.
Both flop gut shots, both have a blocker, but Dan's got a pair, which is going to be the nuts for now.
Check, check. King of clubs on the turn. Alvarado.
Looking looking to bluff at this.
Leading for 500,000.
And that's weird. He's overbet the pot here on the turn. You'd think if he had a value hand, he'd maybe want to bet small enough to, you know, get some value.
Dan Smith calls.
Looks like it's going to take another big barrel from JC on the river.
That river card is the 9 of clubs.
Changes nothing. Let her rip, JC. Let her rip, JC. JC?
I don't know. Maybe he's thinking about waving the white flag. He checks. Dan checks behind.
Dan calls the overbet with third pair on the turn, and he's right. He must be brimming with more confidence than a frat boy after his third rum and diet.
Smith with a massive chip lead now.
Yep, that's your man over there. You get to say you knew him way back when. You know, like way back when he was already a millionaire.
Blinds up again, 61-20 with a 20K ante. Kings for Alvarado.
JC's got about 20 bigs.
250.
He raises to 250. Dan Smith has ace-king.
Oh, it's all going in here. Really good spot for JC to double up.
All in?
Smith shoves, Alvarado calls.
Now, even with this loss, Dan's still going to have a monster stack compared to JC. He'll still have more than a 2-to-1 chip lead.
Don't assume it will be a loss. Dan Smith has got lucky from time to time in this tournament.
Truth.
He does have an overcard. He does have 30% equity. The flop has an ace on it.
Oh, man, isn't that the story of this tournament? That's the whole story. Dan Smith plays good. Dan Smith gets business end of cooler. Dan Smith gets there. The end.
Might be the one outer.
Just one card in the deck can save JC Alvarado.
Second place is pretty good.
Burn.
Dan Smith is on the verge of lifting the trophy here in Barcelona. The only river card that will stop that happening is the King of Spades. It's a 3. Dan Smith has done it. JC Alvarado's the runner-up, but bow before King Dan, who's earned the super high roller crown.
It was destiny. Kid could do no wrong.
Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe for more awesome poker content. And check out this video. The YouTube algorithm seems confident you'll like it.